Today's podcast is sponsored by the Tithing Hoax, the Amazon best-selling book that has freed Christians around the world from the false doctrine of tithing. Get your copy now from Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. You're tuned into the Kingdom Wealth Podcast, where we share life lessons, biblical wisdom, and spiritual principles to help you master your money the Kingdom way. What happens when you ask God to help you with your finances? One of the main things is the Most High will ensure you're in the right place at the right time. This is what I call the divine appointment, or the law of divine appointment. For Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 tells us, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under the heaven." Stay tuned as I share with you the importance of knowing your divine appointment. The first thing that happens when you pray over your finances, ask for help with your financial matters, or speak a decree for increased prosperity, is that a shift takes place in the spirit realm. Your prayer, word spoken in faith, or decree initiates an immediate response from the Most High. Immediately, God begins orchestrating the right people, places, and or circumstances that bring about your manifestation. I want you to read Proverbs chapter 16 verse 9, because it teaches us, it shows us that God devises the perfect plan for blessing you financially. In the Gospels and the book of Acts, we read many accounts of Jesus and the apostles healing people immediately or suddenly. For instance, you can look at Acts chapter 9 verse 34. "And Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Arise and make thy bed. And he arose immediately." Now the scriptures presents instantaneous healings and breakthroughs. Now while we can experience an immediate response to our prayer requests in the physical realm, this is not God's typical response. There is the law of seed time and harvest. So there's always a time frame between praying for a financial blessing and receiving that financial blessing. But our prayers are answered immediately in the spirit realm. Let me now refer to Mark chapter 11 verses 12 through 14 and verses 20 and 21. Now this tells the story of how Jesus cursed the fig tree. He cursed the tree, and Jesus and the disciples returned to the fig tree the next morning, and it had withered. So notice, it didn't wither in the physical realm as soon as Jesus spoke the curse. It did wither in the spiritual realm, and by the next day they saw the physical effect or the result of what Jesus spoke. So we see there is a time frame between what happens in the spiritual realm and what we see take place in the physical. There's a time frame that takes place from a prayer being answered in the spiritual realm, which is answered immediately, but the manifestation of what we have prayed for, it takes time for it to manifest in the physical. Okay. Now, the next thing you must know about the importance of your divine appointment, or the law of divine appointment as it relates to your financial blessings, is you must know the law of recognition. It's one thing to know what you want from God, or what you want God to do on your behalf. It's quite another to know how God is going to do it. Now here's the twist. you're not going to know how God will bless you financially. In the previous podcast, I talked about partnering with God. I said God has his responsibilities and we have ours. As kingdom citizens, one of our roles is to know what we want and need. It's God's duty to determine how the want or need will be met. The beauty of this is that God always knows the best way of having our righteous desires fulfilled. Of course, the how is always a mystery to us. In other words, God may answer our prayers in a way we don't expect. This is why we need to practice and to learn the law of recognition. The easiest way to activate this law is to ask God to give you the ability to recognize when your blessing has arrived. If you're not operating with this law, you may miss your blessing because the blessing is not always obvious. Now, I've been working with God to help me improve my financial circumstances. I'm in partnership with God regarding my money. So I'm adamant about decreeing over my finances and speaking words in faith and asking for God's guidance so I can become a better steward and a better ruler over my money. Now, here's where we get to being in the right place at the right time. This is from my personal experience. This is my personal testimony about being in the right place at the right time and why it's important to know the law of recognition and to know and how having recognition allows you to know when God is moving on your behalf and answering your prayer. Now, a few months ago, I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers, and she shared some information, some valuable information that helped me acquire a significant amount of money. Now, what's interesting is this YouTuber's channel has absolutely nothing to do with money or personal finance. The channel is all about commentary on current events. So her topic had nothing to do with money at all. So when she shared the information, quote unquote, out of the blue, I recognized that the information she shared could benefit me financially. And the same thing happened to me while watching another video, another YouTuber's channel that had nothing whatsoever to do about money or finances. And it just so happened, while I was listening, the person being interviewed dropped a jewel of information that also resulted in me having access to some funds. And now there was another situation. As you know, as you could tell, I got to spend quite a bit of time on YouTube. So I had my smart TV on watching YouTube videos, and this is another situation. And on my timeline, I don't know if they really call it timeline on YouTube, but you know they have a section of recommended for you videos and recently uploaded videos, right? Well, there was a video that caught my attention, and this was a YouTuber I had never heard of. I've never watched this channel before, so it's kind of interesting that it showed up for on my recommended list in my recently updated list, because I never watched that. Again, I never heard of that YouTube channel, and I never watched that YouTube channel. But it just so happened, I saw the title, it caught my attention. Again, the law of recognition. And so I just say, okay, let me watch this video. When I watched the video, once again, the YouTuber share some valuable information that helped me generate more money. Now, some would say, well, that's all just a coincidence, but that's not true. There are no coincidences in God's kingdom. Again, God orchestrates the right people, the right places, and the right circumstances to ensure your prayers are answered and that you receive your blessing. And He has been answering my financial prayers in ways I could not imagine. There's absolutely no way I could have imagined or fathomed that by watching those videos, I was going to come away with some valuable information that would help to improve my financial situation. There's absolutely no way I knew that was going to happen. Why? Because 2 of those videos had nothing to do with money. And the other video that did have to do with money is a channel or video, YouTube channel I'd never heard of before. Never seen, never watched, but it just quote unquote happened to show up or my recently updated list, and happened to show up on my recommended for you list. But in God's kingdom, nothing just happens. To listen to the rest of this Kingdom Wealth episode, head on over to tithinghoax.com. The link is below.